Welcome everybody to Pathways to Aviation. We're not going to wait for others to come into the show. We're just going to get started. I want to welcome you all to, holy cow, the final workshop in our summer series. I don't know how many it's been. I think it's been 18 workshops that we did over the summer from May until now. It actually is the week after our May week-long Aviation Career Week. And we've had 18 amazing workshops. We started with creating a career checklist and then going through resume writing to networking to interviewing. Last week, we had a session on salary negotiation that got kind of into benefits and compensation. So if you haven't seen that, go to our website or our YouTube channel and watch it. It's 39 minutes of information I really didn't know. So take advantage of that, because when you're in the interview process, you're going to want to know when to ask those questions about money. And it's definitely not the first interview, but you're going to want to ask the right questions at the right time. And that's what that session did for us. But today, and I'll backtrack a little bit, I've always wanted to have a conversation about career fairs. And so we're going to get into that today. But before I do that, there are a number of people on this show today that you don't know anything about Pathways to Aviation. So I'm going to give you the 90-second version. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission is to inform, inspire, and engage aviation's next generation. And we do that a number of ways, but everything is housed in our website. So you signed up to attend today's workshop, or you registered as a new user. And by doing so, you create a career profile. And within that career profile, there are a series of questions that you can answer or fields that you can complete to help you hone in, fine tune, improve your career readiness. Starts with understanding you. So you share your soft skills and a little bio, and then we help you work on your resume. So you upload your resume and we'll give you feedback and go back and forth. And as you're doing that, you're going to work on your LinkedIn profile. And then we're going to coach you on networking. We're going to help you craft a compelling elevator pitch. We're going to teach some tips about networking, and then we're going to prepare you for the job interview, because we want you to win that job interview so that you can have that conversation about salary negotiation and benefits. So we do all that. You go through the process, we certify you. And as you're going through that process, you're going to be introduced to amazing industry leaders, such as the three that we have on the show today, who can point you in the right direction. They're either hiring, or they know of open positions, or they can recommend you to companies who they believe are a good fit. And it doesn't matter what role you want to play in aviation. You can pump fuel, you can fly an aircraft, you can repair it, you can work in aircraft trading and sales, whatever it is you want to do. We're going to make it so that you can explore and pursue the jobs of your interests, the specialties, applying your skills, the whole bit. That's our certification process. Now, there are certain things that we do to help bolster that. We're designing our next version of our career planning workbook, which will be in electronic form this year, where every candidate using our system will get a free copy. We also host weekly workshops. They take place at 4 o'clock Pacific every Wednesday. We haven't taken a week off since last April 8, I believe. So we do that intentionally to help you both with your certification process, but also if you just want to come in and talk about how to prepare for a job interview, you can come in and learn how to prepare, doing the research and doing all the things that we teach so that you can be better prepared for that job interview. That takes place throughout the year, constant. In fact, next week's, and I don't even have it posted on our website yet, we're going to have an open discussion about the obstacles we're all facing when looking for jobs in aviation. The following week, we're going to talk about scholarships, and one of our hosts is with us today. But back to the topic at hand, career fairs. So right now, as I pin our three amazing panelists, excuse me, I'm looking at all, no, I don't want to make you a co-host. Sorry, Ellen. Add pin, where's Tim? Okay, I got to three of you. So I want to preface this. So I have been in the career space for 8 years, not just with Pathways, but another venture. And I am a firm believer that career fairs, this is going to sound weird, they're the worst idea ever. They're the worst. Why? They're career fairs. Well, let me scratch that. Most college students that I know don't go to career fairs. Okay, they won't even go. Those who do will just window shop, or they'll see a couple people. That's why they're the worst idea ever. It's all in how you approach it. So I've always wanted to have a workshop talking about how to make the most of career fairs. Am I coming through to everybody okay? All right, cool. So how to make the most of career fairs. So I've always wanted to do this workshop, and it's here today. And before I introduce our guests, if you will just type into chat your name, perhaps the school or employer that you're representing or you're attending, and your specialty. And you might even put in there if you're looking for a position, right? Or an internship. So before I get caught up in talking about career fairs, I want to introduce three amazing leaders. I've met them all. I think they're all extraordinary, and I want them to provide insight on career fairs. So the first is Ellen Carr, and she is like the campus. She gave me a long title, but we're not going to follow that. She's like the campus guru of all that is careers at the University of Dubuque. So she is going to provide her amazingness. We have Tim Jenk, who's with the FAPA, is the Future and Active Pilot Advisors, .arrow, and Joel Sakaris, who is a dynamite leader from jsfirm.com, and jsfirm.com is our job board partner. Everything on our job board comes from them. So thousands of jobs that they have posted on our website, we don't have to do anything. They just do it for us. So I want to introduce you guys. Ellen, we'll start with you, then go to Tim, and then Joel. If you could just give us a few minutes of who you are, what you do, your why statement, what makes you so special, and tell us all about you and what you guys have going on.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ellen Carr, and I'll give you my full long title. I am the Associate Director of Vocation, Career Services, and Community Engagement at the University of Dubuque in Dubuque, Iowa. We are right along the Mississippi, right where Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin meet, for those of you maybe not as familiar with the Midwest. I have been at the University of Dubuque in this position for about a year and a half. I started April of 2020, so right at the start of the pandemic. I had 3 days on campus before being sent home for the summer to work virtually. And so that was kind of an interesting introduction to the school. But luckily, I am an alumni. I got my master's degree here, and I work with our students in undergraduate programs, which does include our aviation program, which is our largest program offered at the university, master's students in the master's program, physician assistants, and even students in our theological seminary. So all thing career guru, I appreciate that. And I definitely just try to help students find those meaningful connections, help look at their experiences that they've had thus far to prepare them for what's next, and help them articulate their strengths and why they're the best fit for the job. So thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I knew you were a superhero. All right, Tim, tell us about you.
Hello, my name is Tim Gatz. I am the Chief Advisor and Executive Editor of FAPA. FAPA is Future and Active Pilot Advisors. The Future and Active goes along with the pilot. So whether you want to be a pilot when you grow up, or whether you are already a pilot in various stages of looking for your first jet job, your last jet job, your first post-65 job, whatever it is, we like to have the opportunity to go ahead and talk with you and work with you. I started on my path in college wanting to go ahead and be an airline pilot when I grew up, and built all my hours and experience working as a flight instructor. Absolutely loved it. And in the course of doing so, found out that I almost like teaching aviation more than I liked flying the airplanes. I was always a fan of aviation. It's my vocation, it's my career, it's the thing that I love doing, but I loved the mentoring, the coaching. which is really what flight instructing is all about. Ended up working for one of the national flight schools for about 17 years, chief piloting, grading some online curriculums, but always kind of coming back to teaching and guiding people. Did finally have the opportunity to go to the airlines. Absolutely loved it, working for one of the United Express carriers, specifically working in the recruiting department, directing that effort, and spent a lot of time talking to pilots, almost now on the other end of the certification line. For so long, it was, how do we get you to the point that you're ready to go to the airlines? And now it was, now that you're at the airlines, why should you come to this particular company, or how should you best go ahead and choose this company? So thoroughly enjoyed it. The opportunity to look at a lot of resumes, do a lot of interviews, talk to a lot of candidates. COVID obviously came and adjusted the world a little bit. And that's when the opportunity to start working with FAPA presented itself. I still do a lot of the same things that I did at the flight school and that I did at the airlines, but instead of doing them for one particular company, I do them for the industry. So have the chance to go ahead and be working and coaching and mentoring a lot of different pilots as they go through their journey, helping them make sure their resume looks as good as it can be, helping them polish off their interview skills so they're presenting the best version of themselves. Thoroughly enjoy hearing myself talk, and just really having the chance to go ahead and talk to a lot of pilots. So love what I do. Good to be here.
Sorry, I'm busy here laughing with the mute on. Joel, you're up, buddy.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Joel, and I am with jsfirm.com. If you guys aren't familiar with JS Firm, we are an aviation job board. Thousands of aviation jobs on our website. It's a totally free resource for you to go on there, search for job positions, whether you're a pilot or a mechanic, aircraft sales. But it is a job board that's unique just to the aviation industry. I love it. It's a very niche job board, but I think it's a really, really great resource for anyone in the industry. And just a little bit about kind of my position here. I'm a member advocate. I've been with JS Firm for about 2.5 years now, 3.5 if you count being an intern here as well. So you can tell, really love what we do here. And kind of my main role here, in addition to, some website, design things, is to work with the aviation, the student members of our website specifically. So I talk to students from all across the country, from colleges, training facilities. I've talked with management students, avionics, pilots, mechanics, all sorts of different students to kind of help you guys search for opportunities, search for jobs, and to give you some of the best practices and give you some help on how to land those positions as well. So pretty excited to be here. Just got off a call with a class of students about an hour ago. So I am, amped up. I'm ready to go here, talk about career fairs. And I think you guys are going to gain some great insight from what we're talking about tonight.
Perfect. Well, welcome. This is amazing. Okay. The three of you, and I already shared it, but the three of you know my feeling about career fairs. They're both awesome and bad at the same time. So I want to ask you how you feel about career fairs and really get into why they're so important, particularly for the student or the candidate. And Ellen, we'll start with you.
Career fairs, I think it is a love-hate relationship that people have with those, whether you are recruiting, whether you are the one planning the event, or if you are the student or the job seeker attending it. But it is such a great opportunity to get in front of and connect face-to-face with so many people in such a short amount of space or short amount of time. And so I like to tell students, this is a way to kind of put your resume on the top of the pile. It's a way for you to have that initial introduction with somebody where you're able to tell them who you are instead of just submitting your application online. You're actually handing it to a hiring manager or somebody else who is going to be able to make an opinion about you. I hear from students saying, oh, if I could just get an interview, if I could just talk to these employers, I know I'd be able to tell them about my skills, but it's so hard to put it on a resume. Well, this is kind of a great opportunity and a blend of that for you to be able to say, hi, here I am. I'm ready to learn about you, as well as if you're in a job seeker's market, to learn about a lot of different people in one short amount of time. And so learn about the employers, kind of get a good feel for them or an initial feel to help you narrow your search.
Wow. Well spoken. I love it. Thank you. Tim, your own answer to that question.
Yeah, the job fairs, the career fairs, it's a lot like Walmart, if we want to go ahead and say it that way. And it can definitely be a love-hate relationship. No one is going to probably proudly go ahead and tell everybody at Thanksgiving that they bought the turkey from Walmart. No one is going to advertise that their pair of pants was from Walmart. But when that moment comes in and you need to get a turkey, a pair of pants, a stick of butter, and a case of beer all at once, you can go to Walmart and no one will judge you for doing all of those things. So career fairs are great because it is a really, really convenient, easy place for you to go to one place where everything you need is right there. Everyone is there. It's like a mall where you're going around and you could talk to absolutely everyone. And the neatest thing about it is if you're there just to go ahead and talk to the regional airlines, just like being at Walmart, when you are on your way to where they have the turkeys, you're going to walk by the produce section. You're going to say, oh, hey, I need an avocado. Or, oh my gosh, I need to go ahead and get some cheese bread. So when you're on your way to go and talk to the regional airlines, you see a small little, 135 company that's doing island hopping. And you're like, you know what, I'd never thought about that, but why don't I talk to them? And I'm not saying that it's going to change your life, but all of a sudden you're going to get a piece of information where you're going to say, I didn't think about that. That's kind of fantastic. And so that happens time and time again. So just like going to Walmart, you leave and there is more in your grocery cart than the 4 things that you went to go out in Walmart to shop for. And so you come away with so much information. You may do nothing with it, but it is knowledge. And a good pilot is always learning. So you walk away with more knowledge than you needed, and it assists you in your career. So that's one of the best things I can go ahead and say about career fairs.
Wow. Again, solid. I've just never used the Walmart reference. Might have to steal that one.
Neither have I.
Well, it came out well. Joel, you're on, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Ellen and Tim. And I love that analogy as well. That is awesome. And career fairs present kind of a unique opportunity where you can kind of meet, with employers in a professional setting. And, that's where you can do a lot of your networking within the industry. And I think that that's one of the reasons, they're so very important and they're so useful, is to kind of start building relationships with folks that are out there in the industry. And, of course, for an aviation job website, a great place to look for jobs, see what's out there, things like that. But, nothing really beats kind of a face-to-face connection with the employers, and it leaves a lasting impression with them when you can speak to them in person. And again, I think it's just overall great opportunity. And of course, maybe we'll get into talking about it a little bit, but I've attended some virtual career fairs over, with the pandemic and everything going on. And it's just been kind of interesting to see how that dynamic works as well. A little bit different than being there in person, obviously. But overall, it's still a great way to do your networking. And I think that that's one of the biggest things about it.
I totally agree, Joel. I know in the video I produced, I think I mentioned how they're like mini interviews. Every interaction you have is like a mini interview, but you came out with networking. And what a great way to practice your pitch, practice your presence, practice your dress, get a feel. Like if you're a freshman or sophomore, you're not actively looking for a job, what a great way to figure out what's going on, kind of navigate through it so that when you're ready for that job search or that internship search, you know more than anybody else. Like you're ready to go. And so that's why I think career fairs are awesome. And I also think that everybody in the room has gold in them, and you never know who knows who can hook you up to what you're hoping to accomplish. Even if they're at a table that has nothing to do with aviation, that they just squeeze their way into this aviation career fair, you never know. So thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so on the assumption that career fairs are awesome and students should attend, what are the best ways, and we'll go backwards this time, so Joel, you'll be up first. What are some ways or the best ways students, job seekers, candidates at large can prepare to attend and really maximize the career fairs?
Yeah, so there's a ton of different kind of ways to prepare for career fairs. There's kind of a checklist there. Pete, I love the video that you sent out, the Maximizing Career Fairs video, because that kind of lines out, for everyone here. If you haven't watched it yet, I would recommend doing that. It gives you kind of the tips in order, kind of how to prepare for a career fair, some of those best practices and things like that. But one of the biggest things that stands out to me when you're preparing for that is to really choose, a couple of your top employers that you want to visit when you're at the career fair. And really focus on hitting those particular companies. And I'm a real big proponent on doing your research on the companies. I think it's extremely important. It shows that you took the initiative, took some extra time to kind of do your homework on the company. And, of course, it helps out in an interview situation if you get to that point. But it just helps out to kind of build a conversation when you're physically there at that career fair. It's a talking point that you can have with the employer, with the recruiter. And when you do your research, just overall, it's really going to help you in the long run. And again, kind of going back to talking about picking your top companies there. Of course, you want to research those, do as much research on all the companies at the career fair that you can, but don't be closed-minded to speaking to some of the other employers that are there besides the ones that you want to go to. Of course, hit your main ones, but you never know what may happen. Career fairs can really surprise a lot of people because you go in there, thinking that you have a specific mindset, specific people you want to talk to. Keep your options open, take a walk around, try and speak to some of the companies that may be a little bit lower on your list, even if you haven't researched them. And you may surprise yourself. And there's one thing that I was, kind of guilty of, at least I know back when I was, in college attending career fairs, and, I would choose like 3 different companies or something and say, hey, I want to go to these 3 companies. And meanwhile, there's, 100 companies at the career fair. It's important to kind of have your day lined out. And I'm also guilty of window shopping that Pete was talking about earlier. And it's kind of like one of those things where you get there, it's like you see a line of 50 people at a certain big company that you want to go to. So you're like, well, I'll go to this other company that's on my list. And then after you do that, you come back, there's still a big line. And it's like, all right, I'm going to go home and, I'm going to forget about the rest of the career fair. And I think that's kind of the mindset and what a lot of folks do. But I think it's just really important to go into this, prepared to spend the entire time frame of the career fair at the career fair. So it's, a lot of preparation things that you can do. If you line everything out and kind of hit all the points that you need to hit, you're going to end up being pretty successful with these career fairs. You're going to talk to a lot of people, make a lot of good connections, again, networking. But anyways, I'll kind of quit talking here, but that's kind of my main things that I like to talk with students about when we're talking about career fairs.
Thanks, Joel. That was awesome. Tim, what are some great ways to prepare for career fairs?
Kind of going to some of what you have been talking about, Pete, it's, you love them or you hate them, or they're awesome and they're horrible. It's a garbage in, garbage out program. You are going to often get out of a career fair what you put into it. So the more you prepare, the better time you're going to have at a career fair. The more it's I've got 10 minutes before Geraldo comes on, I might as well stop in, then that's what you're going to get out of it. Just speaking about it from a company that's recruiting standpoint, the airline that I was with, we used to go to these job fairs all the time. And I remember we showed up with 7 people to one particular job fair, and every other airline that was there had 1, maybe 2 people. And I even remember 5 minutes before the job fair started, having some of the other airlines laughing at us saying, "Why do you have so many people?" Well, within 15 minutes of the job fair starting, there was 1 person at our booth because the rest of the people were off doing walk-up interviews. And so the reason I bring up that story is we were prepared to make the most out of that. We traveled with our fingerprint boards and with our drug testing kits in our backpack. So if we really liked that person, we would vet them right there, and we would go home with a stack of people ready to go ahead and put in class. Now take that and apply it to you going to the job fair. Yes, one of the greatest things about a job fair is it's a more casual environment for you to kind of dip your toe into the proverbial pool of the aviation to see what's going on, but you can get out of it as much as you put into it. If you show up in a suit with a resume and you've done a little bit of resume prep, you even bounced a couple questions off everybody and you are ready to go, and you find that one company that says, "Hey, I like everything I'm seeing. I'm done with the career fair at noon. Can you stick around and can we do an interview?" Go for it. So be prepared to get as much out of this as you want. That means be prepared for this to be a job interview. Also prepare to, kind of what I had said with the first question, prepare to talk to everybody. Prepare to get as much information as possible, because you don't know what you don't know when it comes to aviation. And again, there may be an opportunity that you never even thought about, that all of a sudden you have the chance to learn about because you stopped and talked to that one company that you had never ever heard of. So, prepare fully. Prepare like this is a check ride. Prepare like this is a cross country. Have all of your points and everything taken care of. Put a lot into it.
Tim, that's great feedback too. And I guess it's important to remember that the representative is there and they have a job to do, because they have to go to their supervisors and report on the activity that happened at the career fair. And if they don't show any metrics or any data, they're going to question their investment at that particular career fair, which leads us to the university. Ellen, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think everything that Joel and Tim and Pete that you shared in the video prior to this event, but kind of trying to think of some other things to share. I used to work at another university, and it was a larger state school, very heavy in engineering, and we had a 300 plus employer career fair every year. So pretty big scale, and engineers always get hired. And so it was really competitive. And I remember I started there, I went in the doors and they said, "Ellen, go hand out your business cards to some of the employers, start making these connections." I walked into the career fair. Now, this is as a professional, as somebody who's been working for years, who this is my job. I walked through that career fair up and down the lanes without talking to a single person, because I was so overwhelmed with how big this was and how many people there were. And I didn't hand out a single card. And I was like, whoa, if I'm feeling this way as a 30-year-old person, how are these students feeling at 18, 19, 25, whatever age? And so it was like, okay, so that totally changed my approach, especially with younger students. So I would tell the first year students, go check it out, walk through, talk to 5 employers, any employers you want, start your practicing. So when it matters as a junior, when you're looking for an internship, and a senior, when you're going to a fall career fair and getting job offers to begin when you graduate in May, you've already kind of worked through those kinks. You've mastered your elevator pitch. You've gotten comfortable and knew what to expect in that surrounding, because they're unlike anything else, you know, and the energy, and people are excited and nervous and just moving around. And so I think that's, and I was going through the list, the chat, to kind of look how at the introductions people were doing here. And it looks like we have some, you know, first and second year students go to these fairs. Just check it out, get a feel for it, talk to a couple of people. You can ask them, what can I do as a first year student that's going to make me a better candidate in a couple years for your internship? What can I do now to prepare in a couple years? And then next year, go back and find that same rep. They're probably going to be there again. Hey, we talked last year. I asked you for a tip. You told me this. They may or may not remember, but they're probably going to remember you then when you go back junior year and say, hey, this is my 3rd time connecting with you. So that would be one thing. And then the other thing to prepare is think about your outfit. And I'm thinking of, you know, when I'm going to go do something, you're on your feet, you're walking around. Do not wear, and this would apply to maybe females or somebody else who might like to wear high-heeled shoes. That might not be the place to wear those big 4-inch heels. Find a nice shoe that you're comfortable in. Feel confident, feel good in what you're wearing. Your university, if you're a college student, might have a professional clothing shop where you can go get some free professional clothes that you can then wear to the career fair and start building that wardrobe. You know, some schools might do career fair one day and interviews on campus the next day. And so maybe you have a shirt and tie, but you want a second one in case you have an interview. So taking advantage of that and practicing that kind of elevator pitch that you're going to give to the employers even early on in your career, college career.
That's great advice. And you're right. A lot of schools will have these special days where they'll bring a company on campus, or the campus will already have it, whether you can go through and pick some attire to wear, whether it's a trade like a library system, or you can buy it. Like, there are all those opportunities. So that's a great point. Okay, you guys have thrown out a bunch of gems, but each of you have also mentioned the importance of networking and meeting people. So can you shed some light on like how to pursue next? So I've met one or a bazillion people at the career fair. Am I allowed to engage in a relationship, or can I reach out to them? And if so, what are some suggestions that you might have for me to reach out to the people I've met? And Tim, we'll go you, Joel, and then Ellen.
Awesome. You know, it's such a lost art now, and it's something that used to be the standard, that after you got done with an interview, you would go ahead and email someone. I remember one of the first interviews that I did when I was with the airlines. When we were done, sitting in the middle of the table were a bunch of handwritten notes from one of the candidates that he filled them out ahead of time, got our names, and yes, just plugged it in. But it was such a nice touch. So one, why would you follow up with somebody? You know, you think about radio advertising or any sort of advertising, there's a certain number of impressions you have to go ahead and give for your message to get across. You are selling yourself. That is what an interview is. So first impression, you met them at the job fair. Maybe you stop by and talk to them a second time because you had another question. Third impression, they go and get an email from you. So not only are you creating more impressions, not only are you staying on that person's mind, but if you're following up with additional questions, you are going to get more information. So should there be a practice? Should you go ahead and engage them? Again, it depends on what you want to go ahead and get out of this event. Do you want to be able to show that you are occupied between the hours of 1 and 5 on this particular day? Then feel free not to interview somebody. But if you want to go, or not to contact anybody, but if you want to leave this event with information, if you want to leave this event with a contact, if you want to leave this event with a professional relationship, where maybe from time to time you could reach out and saying, hey, I heard this about this thing in aviation or this happening. What are your thoughts? You're asking a pilot recruiter potentially to step out of the role of a pilot recruiter and play the game with you, to have a conversation with you, to talk aviation with you and have the opportunity to share their passion with you. They're going to enjoy that. They're going to appreciate it, and they are going to remember you. They are going to say, wow, that person sent me a follow-up email. That's a nice touch. So I would absolutely encourage that.
I 100% agree. Joel?
Absolutely. It's kind of funny. This is awesome because, one of my big things is doing your research on the companies. And the other big thing that I always like to talk to students about is to send a follow-up. And whether that's after an interview or after the career fair we're talking about right now, I think the follow-up is so powerful. Even if it's just a follow-up email, writing a note is awesome as well. Tim covered some of those things, but in that follow-up, that's another thing to me that shows that you took kind of initiative, just like doing research, took some extra time out of your day, something nice to do. And, overall, that's going to help further build your relationship with the person that you spoke to. And something that really stood out to me too, that, Pete, you talked about in your video was, write some things down from your conversation that you had with that person at the career fair. That way you can recap that in your follow-up email, kind of, go over some of the conversation, some of the points that you discussed during that. And it shows that you were kind of listening and that you remember something from the conversation. And that kind of bridges a gap as well between, you just being another one of their candidates and you being, someone who really stands out to them and someone who they may reach out to for an interview. It could mean the difference between you landing an interview versus someone else who didn't send it, may not land an interview, things like that. So that follow-up is extremely powerful. And I would highly encourage everyone to just remember to do that, to all of your employers that you've talked to, get their contact information if you don't have it. A lot of times you kind of get caught up in the moment and, sometimes you can kind of forget to ask for their information or their card, things like that. Hey, there's always LinkedIn. You could add them on there, send them a message and do kind of the same thing for your follow-up as well. So to me, those would kind of be the next steps into networking.
Yeah, and Joel, I'm still that guy who will write a card. So I'll do all three. I'll write a card because I want somebody like Tim to look and say, whoa, this never happens, and they'll never forget me. So that
absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm that guy. All right, Ellen, share some greatness.
I like to save my handwritten thank you cards for the interview and bringing a stamped, ready to go thank you card that I fill out in the parking lot or I hand to the front desk receptionist as I'm leaving to hand to the hiring manager or the person I just interviewed with. But the follow-up's absolutely necessary in a career fair. Asking the representative, what's the best way to follow up with you? Can I add you to LinkedIn? Can I get your contact information and send you an email? If I were going to email someone, I would probably attach my resume to that, even though I handed them a resume at the career fair. That was a smaller step than the application online, but here it is again. Here's my information. Like Joel said, what were some things that we talked about? Did the conversation go one way or the other? It's a small world. It's a small industry. Maybe you made some connections some other way that you can bring that back to light. But connecting on LinkedIn I have a love-hate relationship with a lot of things in the career world, and LinkedIn is another one of those things. But my job here at the University of Dubuque, a connection I had was on the hiring committee for this, posted the position, shared it on LinkedIn. I reached out and I said, oh, I don't know if you remember me. And of course I remember you, Ellen. You gave a very effective resume presentation to my students at our old school. So it was like, okay, great. So that opened the door that I probably put me at least onto a pile that gets in front of the hiring manager to look at. And then I had to take the next steps. But that's just those segues. Let us help you make it to that next step in the process towards those career goals that you have.
That was amazing. So yes. It's the little things that you do that can tip the scale, so to speak, in your favor. Even if you're a freshman or sophomore, they'll never forget. And what I like about LinkedIn is you can at least, it's an easy way to keep tabs. And that, little things like that, emails, simple notes go a long way. Okay, I asked if anybody had any questions. I really haven't been focusing on checks. I was focused on the answers, but I did see Peter. Why don't you verbalize your question, bud?
Sure. So as I said in the chat, so I'm heading to a Walmart in Las Vegas, to use Tim's analogy, in October, NBAA base. And so this is my opportunity as someone who's interested in corporate aviation, right, to interact with the representatives who are there from my target company specifically. And really what I'm trying to do is to get the following question answered. Hey, I've got 12 to 18 months before I'm really going to be, looking to make a transition from my current place of employment. How can I utilize that time to most strongly position me as a candidate that you're going to be interested in at that time? So I'd like to network with them and to start that conversation, but I'd like to get the panelists' input on how I can enter into that discussion, what points I should draw attention to, et cetera.
Whoever wants to jump in.
One of the things that I would go ahead and say is every person at NBAA has got an interest in aviation. Some of them may be the pilots for that particular company. All of them started off not being able to spell VFR, got all of their certifications, credentials, built their hours and experience, and landed themselves a job. Aviation is one of the most unique industries out there in that most of the people that are involved in aviation want nothing more than to tell you about the fact that they're involved in aviation. It's kind of the old joke, how do you know if there's a pilot at a party? Don't worry, they'll tell you. So if you go ahead and if you have the opportunity to come up to some of these pilots and say, this is who I am, I'm trying to go ahead and get into aviation, I'm about 12 to 18 months away from having my hours or being able to go ahead and jump, what piece of advice would you give someone like me? I would start with that, and you would probably be amazed the amount of information that you would go ahead and get, not to mention the conversation that may start and the network that you may create. But the best thing about it is the next person you talk to, it's now a different conversation because you just got armed with a whole lot of info that you might not have talked to. So the next booth that you go up to, you may have said, hey, this is who I am, I'm interested in this. And I've been speaking to someone that said the best way to build my hours and experience would be here. I know that you're a pilot, you flew this aircraft, how did you go ahead and do that? So you're finding out, you're finding out where the landmines are. You're finding out where things happen and what mistakes somebody has made or what successes somebody has made that may go ahead and influence your career. So that would be one of the best things that I would go ahead and say is draw on their experience and draw on the fact that they want nothing more than to tell you their story.
Well said, Tim. Ellen, Joel, any feedback?
I would say, being upfront in those situations and kind of what your timeline is, I think would be helpful information to share to let them know, where that is, but kind of building those conversations. And, Peter, I just went back through and kind of saw that in the chat about you being an IT professional, so if you have this other skill set and you have other years of experience doing things that you're going to be able to bring forward with you into this career, they're going to be kind of excited to hear that, I would think, to hear about, well, I've already successfully done these things and managed these teams and worked with people in this way, that it's like, hey, that's something different we might be able to add into our team. I'm kind of interested in learning more about this. So I think, being upfront about who you are and what your experience has been, and then, when maybe they would recommend that you start that process and the next steps from there, being that you're a year or a year and a half out.
Solid, Ellen. Joel, anything else to share?
Yeah, so I think just kind of piggybacking off of what Tim said on kind of how to formulate, asking them a question, what advice would you give me, things like that. I would just say to kind of work on your kind of elevator pitch, 30-second commercial kind of deal, and formulating that with some of the things that Tim said and Ellen said. And of course, once you start talking to one person and the next person, it'll get easier, and you'll kind of remember what to say to the next person that you talk to. But just in that regard, just kind of, practice a little bit, and it'll build your confidence as well.
Yeah, one thing I know about that conference is once you start talking to people and you're there for what? I can't remember. You're going to see them again, and they're going to introduce you to other people, and it's just going to become like this thing, which is pretty awesome. Frank, I see that you had a question.
Yeah, so it was similar. Me and Peter are kind of in a similar boat where we're late in our careers and we're making a switch. So my question was kind of, even though these aircraft expos, most of the manufacturers, the people that are working for them are not recruiters, they're salespeople. Would those aircraft expos really be a good way to maybe make a new connection to help you in getting hired with some of those companies?
I would go ahead and put it right back with NBAA. Yes, those are salespeople, and the way that sometimes those individuals sell the airplane is by taking somebody for a flight in it. Chances are that person did not initially start their journey in aviation with the total goal of being a salesperson for Gulfstream. They may have spent some time with the airlines. They may have spent some time in the military. They may have spent some time in private aviation. Again, finding out their journey, how they got to where they are, as well as who they have met through their time in aviation. Aviation is a very, very, very small world. It's closer than playing the Kevin Bacon game. You're always going to go ahead and find somebody that's 1 or 2 degrees away from somebody else So one, I would say you go ahead and the opportunity to network is there. Two, the 2 adages: 1, a good pilot is always learning. 2, a part of being a pilot is it's your responsibility to become available with all information concerning the proposed flight. Both of those are going to be satiated as you are attending job fair after job fair after job fair. Aviation is going to be your life. So if immersing yourself in it, you are always going to learn something.
That is great feedback, Tim. I 100% agree to that. Wherever you can create a network, go for it. Ellen, Joel, any feedback on that?
I think Tim said it best. I don't really have anything to add to that at all. So good job.
Yeah, same. I echo that. And I mean, I would think that just that atmosphere and being around in that situation with other industry professionals would be exciting. And so it could be a fun opportunity. Check it out. And then maybe you decide, okay, maybe that wasn't the good fit for me, or I might not go back next time. But I mean, if you're able to do it, that might be something that you would be excited about, and, hard to pass up on those opportunities if you're able to do it.
That's great feedback as well. And if that expo is being hosted by an industry association, which you might be joining in the future, or are already a member, it's a great way to get a little bit more involved and that's by meeting more people. They might throw you on a committee, and that's where the real great networking happens. So that's my feedback on that. Okay, we're kind of running out of time. Does anybody else have a question? If so, just unmute and ask.
Yes, I have a question. During my first career fair at Purdue, I have done research on 5 companies, but when I've been there, there are companies that I don't know much about, but I really wanted to talk to them. So, what would be the best approach to talk to the companies that you didn't done much research on?
You know, one of the first things that I would go ahead and say are some of these career fair events that are go ahead and happening. There are tons of industry-wide events that happen all over the country. With everything that is happening, there is often a virtual option to go ahead and also attend. To physically going there is not a possibility. I mean, we've got, you know, Women in Aviation in March, we've got NGPA in February, we've got OBAP a couple times throughout the middle of the year. There's so many of these little tiny events going on where these representatives will be there. In the absence of that, all of these companies have got social media channels. So following that company, posing a question from time to time. If you were to type into the message window on any one of those airlines, I am a 750-hour pilot that qualifies for restricted ATP. Looking at my possibilities, I would like to talk to somebody about your airline. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a response pretty quickly, and have the chance to go ahead and have a one-on-one, probably very candid conversation with that individual.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would say too, if you're at the career fair and there's companies that you haven't researched, like you said, that you might be interested in talking to, still tell them about yourself. And then, you know, at the end of that, phrase a question back to them, you know, tell me about your work culture, tell me about internships, tell me about professional development opportunities that you have for your team, or tell me your favorite part of working for this organization. That's going to get them excited. Everybody likes to talk about what they like best about it. And that's a good tip to ask at the end of any interview. What is your favorite part of the job? What's your favorite part of the company? Because people are going to remember that. But that's kind of a general question, you know, or if you're waiting in a long line to go talk to an organization that everybody wants to talk to, strike up that conversation with one of those smaller organizations and just keep it kind of general to show, you know, then it won't necessarily be a tell that you haven't done research on that.
Ellen, I love that. I love asking the why. What is the favorite part? Or why do you work here? What wakes you up in the morning to go to work every day? That's a great way to get them to talk about the company. And from there, you can ask an additional question. That's brilliant. Joel?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would say, like, you know, since we're on the subject, to maybe formulate a couple of questions in your mind to ask employers at the career fair as well. And again, it doesn't have to be a question of, you know, what do you guys do, to reveal that you haven't done your research, but those questions that are more geared towards, you know, what do you do for the company, and things like that. So.
All right, this is all great. And I know I could talk about career fairs all day long because they get me excited, but why don't we start to phase out? So we'll go one by one. Share what you have going on, any suggestions for upcoming fairs that maybe you're hosting or you're helping sponsor, and just give us any lasting comments, feedback, advice, you name it. So Joel, let's start with you, go to Tim, and then Ellen.
Yeah, sure. So I think we're gonna have someone walking around at MBAA coming up here. You know, us ourselves, we don't have any career fair events coming up, but I would highly encourage everyone to visit jsfirm.com and check out what's going on in the industry, who's hiring right now, what they're hiring for. And, you know, you can even go to the job board on Pathways to Aviation as well, and do that. So yeah, I would just highly encourage everyone to do it. It's totally free. And all around, I think it's a great resource for you too.
Thanks, Joel. We love jsfirm.com. You guys are amazing, and we love having you guys as our job board partner. So thanks for everything you do.
Absolutely.
Tim.
Yeah, you know, FAPA has got events that happens every single month. It's usually the third Saturday of every month. It's a two-part event. The morning is a pilot job fair for pilots that are ready to go ahead and interview. They've got to have at least a commercial certificate or 250 hours. The afternoon is a future pilot forum. The afternoon are for people who want to still become pilots and are not exactly sure how to go ahead and do that. And that's every single month. The next one is actually going to be next Saturday, the 25th of September, is going to be in Dallas, Texas. It is a free event to attend. The month after that is going to be October 23rd. We're going to be in San Diego. Month after that is going to be the 13th of November in Fort Lauderdale, one of my favorite locations because there's an amazing German food restaurant in Pompano Beach that I absolutely have to hit. And then we're going to close out the year in Phoenix, Arizona on December 11th. And then we already have the 12 events scheduled for the following year. So these events are put on, I mean, it's kind of the purpose of everything we're talking about. These events are there to go ahead and make it easier for you guys to get the information you need to make the decision that's right for you. Biggest piece of advice I can give to everyone about career fair is attend them early, attend them often. Go to all of them. You are going to get better at job fairs the more of them you do. I've been scuba diving for many, many years, and I've gotten pretty good at it. But one day it all started with me jumping into a swimming pool. You've got to jump in the swimming pool before you can get really, really good at scuba diving. So start attending these events early and often, and you're going to get more and more and more out of them.
That was amazing. And I would assume, Tim, same for Joel, that if you can't make these career fairs, you could probably pick up the phone or type an email to say hello to you to get more feedback, connections, that sort of thing. I would assume.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
Assumption correct.
Ellen.
Yeah, so we are hosting an aviation career fair on October 14th here in Dubuque, Iowa. We are in Iowa, so we are open in our state. So we are having a face-to-face event and kind of excited for that. And I'll leave it at that, but it'll be great. If anyone is close by in proximity, I mean, our registration's on Handshake, but if that's something you would really like to attend, let me know, and I'll make sure that we let you in. Or if employers want to register, we are still accepting those registrations. That's our aviation career plan that we have in place. I would say, as I look on Handshake and I see other things, events that are virtual have opened up way bigger than what I think they used to be, or like this would be a UD student event, but virtual events are usually open to public. And employers are craving that time to speak with people. I think students sometimes can get a little anxious about another virtual event, but employers are there. And if you're one of a few students, that's going to get you some pretty good face time and one-on-one conversations with those recruiters. So checking those out. Connect with me if you would like on LinkedIn, and I'll share events and other opportunities and things that I'm finding. That network is meant to be big. We want to have those connections, and so see what other people are sharing, what they're attending, what they're going to, and so that would be my advice for that.
That is golden advice. And just to remind everybody and inform our new attendees, I send out a weekly bulletin on Mondays that showcase or at least list all the upcoming career fairs, in addition to all the scholarship deadlines that are happening, I would say, in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So take advantage of that bulletin, open it up and see what's available and coming up in your area, or virtually, and take full advantage of it. Ellen's right. These virtual fairs can be legit for you. First of all, you can just sit put on something nice on the top side of your body and have a great conversation and work it. Just work it. So I'm going to end this workshop. I encourage you, if you want, to reach out to our panelists. You see their names on our website are their LinkedIn profiles. You can easily reach out to them, say hello, establish a relationship, and see where those conversations go. Next week, we're going to host a workshop. I haven't posted to the website, but we're going to talk about the obstacles that we're facing as we're engaging in our job searches and interviews and all of that. And then the following week, Ceci and a couple others are going to bring us some scholarship insight that we could all use. And then I have a special one set up for the following week after that. So thank you guys all very much. And Joe, if you're interested and you want to call us out, I'm going to point it to you.
Well, it's sure nice to see all the people on the call today, and thanks for the new people. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We're out. 3, 2, 1.
Good night.